Good morning, mathematicians. We are going to start our notes on Sine Rule today. Go ahead and grab your pencil and write your objective. Let's dive in. So we're going to look at this opening question first. Can we solve this triangle using cosine rule? Now, we took our notes on cosine rule during our last class, and we should know what that formula is. Oh, let me put on my pencil. So cosine rule is c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine capital C. So whenever we're looking at this triangle, you might already see the problem that we're kind of running into if we label it. Little c, little b, little a. So we see that we are given a, so that means that 9 would get plugged in right here. But you'll notice that we're not given b or c, which if we don't have anything to plug into b or c, that means we're going to have two unknowns whenever we're solving for this question. So if we have two unknowns, we can't solve for this right now. We would need at least one more side in order to use cosine rule here. I also don't have three angles, so I can't use my other cosine formula in order to solve for the missing side. So let's go ahead and jump into our first main point. The angle must be included between the two sides in order to use cosine rules. We talked about side, angle, side during our last class. And what that looks like is if I have a side, the angle needs to be in between the two sides that are given. So if I knew this side, this would be my in-between angle. Or if I knew this side, 101 would be my in-between angle. So it's always sandwiched on either side of the angle. It's just two sides that touch the angle. But since I'm only given one side here, I can't have an angle that's in between. Which brings us to when we use sine rule. So sine rule, or also known as laws of sine, for finding a side, you are given two angles and one side. So don't forget to write this down, two angles and one side, just like in this opening problem here. So we can already see here, I have my two angles. Here's an angle, and then I have my side of 7. Sorry. All right. Main point 2. To use sine rule to find the missing side, the given angle must be opposite, keyword there, opposite of the given side. I call this the matching pair, meaning that if I have big B, like here, I have big B, capital B, the angle B, that means I also must know little b, and that is my matching pair. And you can see over here, I have capital C, and I don't have little c, but if I use sine rule, I could solve for it. And I don't know anything about capital A or little a, so that is irrelevant. I don't need it. Those are the angles and sides that I wouldn't need. So this is what I call the matching pair. If I know the capital letter angle, if I know the little side, then I'm good to go. All right. So two sides and a given angle. Same thing here. Now I want you to pause the video and try to find the matching pair here. All right, now that you are back, we can see here we have the capital letter A, we have the lowercase little a, and that would be our matching pair. You can also label the rest of the triangle, and you will see I have little b, I have little c, but I don't know their angles. So those aren't my matching pair. But I only need one in order to use sine rule. All right, let's see what this looks like in practice. Oh, sorry, main point 3. When using sine rule to find the missing angle, the missing side, sorry, I forgot to put that in there. The missing side is the missing angle is across from the given side. In other words, meaning that if you have big A, like here, and little a, this is my matching pair. And if I put 19 as little c, whenever I plug into sine rule, I will automatically solve for big C. All right, here is our formula. Oh, that says cosine rule. Ignore the co. This is sine rule formula. And we're going to see what this looks like in practice. So if you wrote these notes down the other day, I went ahead and solved out this problem for you and kind of broke it down into our 3 steps. Plug into sine rule, cross multiply, and then solve for whatever your missing letter is. But let's break that down step by step and see what it looks like. So the first thing I'm going to do is label my triangle like always. I have big A here, so I put little a, big B here, so across from that put little b, and little c. So when you're using sine rule, you'll see that you have your 3 ratios set up. Sine of capital A over little a is equal to sine of capital B over little b, and sine of capital C over little c. Now, you are not going to use one of these ratios, and you just have to figure out which one you're not using. I can see that capital A and little a both have nothing on them, So that means that this ratio right here is going to be irrelevant. I don't need it. Let me go ahead and erase this. So it looks like I'm going to be solving for little c here because I know what little b is, but I don't know what little c is. I do know what capital C is, and I do know what capital B is. So let's go ahead and plug in. Sine, and I'm just following this ratio right here, sine of capital B over lowercase b is equal to, and I'm going to solve for this ratio, sine of capital C, which is 53, over little c, which is unknown, so you can leave it as c or put an x if you prefer. All right, step 2, once I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply. Anytime you're solving ratios, it's always a safe bet that you are going to cross multiply. So I'll have 7 times sine 53, and you could put a multiplication symbol in between here if you want. I'm just going to put a dot, is equal to c, or x, our unknown, times sine 44. And which brings us to our last step, step 3, which is to solve for our unknown, which in this case is c. So if my goal is to get c by itself, I know that I need to get that sine 44 off of it. I know they're currently multiplying, so I'm going to need to divide in order to do the inverse operation. Okay, let's go ahead and move all of this up. Bring down my equal signs. That cancels. I'm left just with c, which is what I want. And now I'm going to do this on my Desmos calculator. 7 times sine 73 is equal to sine 44, which I solved that out on the next slide over here. And it looks like it's going to be 8.05. Please make sure your calculator is in degree mode. If you didn't get this answer, but you're typing it in exactly as you see it, you might be in radians. All right. So walking through this problem as it's all written out, first thing I wanted to do, plug into the sine formula, cross out that ratio you don't need, cross multiply, just like you see here. Once we cross multiply, we're solving for our unknown. All right, let's look at another example. All right, same thing, I'm going to label my triangle. I want you to actually try to pause the video at each step and try to see if you can do that step by yourself, and then come back and see if you did it correctly. So we've got little a, little c, and b. Perfect. Look for which ratio I don't need. And it looks like, I guess it depends on what I'm solving for. Let me look back at my notes. What am I solving for here? Okay, we're solving for angle B. Perfect. So let's go ahead and plug into our sine formula. Sine of capital A is 97, over lowercase a, which is 22, is equal to sine of capital B, which we don't know, it's unknown, so it's just capital B. There we go. Over 9 is equal to sine of capital C over 19. So now I need to figure out which of these ratios do I not need. So as I'm looking through here, I know that I need capital B, so I'm definitely going to be using this ratio because that's the one I'm solving for. And then I also need my matching pair, which means both the numerator and the denominator will be filled out right here. So it looks like I'm not going to need this ratio. Okay. Step 3, let's go ahead and cross multiply. 22 times sine B is equal to 9 times sine 97. All right. And last step, go ahead and solve for our unknown. Our goal is to get capital B by itself, so I need to get rid of this 22. Move this up a little bit. And that will cancel. I'm left with sine B is equal to, let me put this into my Desmos calculator so I can condense that fraction. 9 sine 97 divided by 22 is 0.406 continuous. I don't want to write out the whole decimal. And in order to cancel out sine, I'll need to take the inverse sine of the other side. So let me inverse sine. .406. Type in the whole decimal. I know it's annoying. We definitely don't want to round too early. And it looks like I get B is equal to 23.95641. So if I'm rounding that to 3 sig figs, B is equal to 24.0 degrees. Okay. I know that was a lot to recap. So if you feel like you need to watch that problem again, I encourage you to do so. And then when you feel ready to move on to the practice, there will be practice problems on our IB website, and you will be putting those in your notebook. All right, you are ready to start your practice. Good luck.